going to see what's going to get on here. Now, ooh, and it's Slutsk and it's Gonzo on one of his favorite divisions. Okay, that's hot. That is really, really hot. Gonzo on the lovely third guards tank core. It's back in action, guys. He won with it in the semifinals. Let's see if he can win here as well. Who will win game 2? Will it be Gonzo, third guards tank, or will it be Inshaa with the 43rd? What is that actually? Is it also guards division? No, it's a reserve army. So, yeah, interesting kind of matchup here as well. Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome back to game number 2 of the Grand Finals. Inshaa up 1-0 here against Gonzo. And a map, game number 2, we are on Slutsk East. And we have a really interesting matchup for. We have Gonzo on the OG division, the division that was the meta division in the early days of Steel Division 2. The 3rd Guards Tank Corps, IS2 1944s and Shermans, P2 bombers, a lot of good stuff in this division, but it has fallen off since then. It's not super OP anymore, but it has come back into play a bit with the ISU's buff that it received. The cards of ISU 152 helped out a lot. Meanwhile, Inshaa, playing a division that has come up more and more into play over the last couple of months as well. 33rd Reserve Army, another Soviet division. A division that has some IS2s as well, though it's only having the 1943 models, and it has a good amount of great infantry. It doesn't have too much AA, but it has a great fighter with the LA7 that should be able to deal with P2s if used correctly. Infantry-wise, it for sure outclasses Gonzo. Tank-wise, Gonzo should have the advantage with the Sherman IS2 combo and supported by ISUs. You at least get a couple of good units as well with the SU 122 and so on for the 43rd Reserve. So should be a hot match. Should be a really interesting matchup. Both sides artillery tabs, pretty lackluster. But infantry and tanks, interesting combos here on both sides. Maverick is the income of choice once more here. So this is going to be really, really interesting. And yep, you can use your channel points for predictions again for everyone on Twitch, for everyone on YouTube. If you want to be more involved into the direct live game casts, maybe follow me on the Twitch stream down below. You can find that in the description. And yeah, also leave a like if you like Steel Division competitive play. And if you really like Steel Division competitive play and you want to support the players themselves, can do so via Match Reno. And you don't even have to pay anything. All you have to do is go to the Match Reno page and use the codes here on the side. For example, there's 2 website links of Lucid Sound that you can visit to add 20 cents per website, so 40 cents in general that you can add. Power A has a couple of websites here in the end as well that you can visit, where you can add 40 cents to the prize pool as well. And BetterHelp with just getting an email submission to them, you can add another 40 cents. That's, if you add it up, $1.20 per person. Doesn't sound too much. If everyone does it, that's a lot of free money added to the prize pool that goes out to the players in the end. So consider maybe doing so that these players get a bit more reward for their really, really amazing shows that they deliver to us. Sadly, I don't quite have the picks and bans yet for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see them down below in the comments. I will ask Gonzo and Inshaa after the game what the picks and bans were. But it should be a really, really hot game. It should be a really, really hot one. Emcha's coming around, Saperis, Guardia DPs. It's lovely to see some of these divisions coming back out of retirement. Like 3rd Guards Tank Corps. We haven't seen this division for a long while over the last year or so. It hasn't seen any action. But now, with the couple of slight buffs, it is full in backswing. It's not nowhere near where it once was, luckily. So, like, no division is close to where 3rd Guards or 3rd Canadians were in their primes. All divisions with 3rd in the name kind of had a time where they were oppressive. 3rd Fallschirmjäger obviously also had its glory days where it was just bullying everything. So the heyday of third guards is over, but it's still nothing to sneeze at. Guardia DPs, the parries here coming in early on. Sherman's still pretty solid tanks nowadays. Obviously not even close to what they once were when they costed way less and had 2000 meter range, but still great support tank with good amount of MG firepower, a good HE shell, and also an AP shell that, thanks to the aim time bonus on it, can really mess up all the light tanks in CQC. On the other side, KV-1 though, a relatively good matchup against the Sherman. With its 95 frontal armor, the Sherman really struggles to penetrate it, while it itself has just the penetration to deal with the Sherman relatively well. T-3045 though, even better, so that's what Inshaa is going for here. SU-152s and SU-122s as the long-range support, and then T-3045s as the big boy tanks. Motorwajvetka coming in, Saperji rocks, really great infantry. Down here in the south, Saperji Komrodi, PPSH, SG-43, all coming around. Otto Stravnicki, officer. A lot of great CQC infantry here on the 33rd Reserve Army for Inshaa. That's really the strong point of that infantry, of the division. Great infantry with good support weapons. And then some big boy tanks. Air tap being relatively solid. It's AA and its artillery being the major weaknesses of the deck. Especially the artillery tab has nothing to offer outside of mortars. And the AA only has the big 85mm, which are not great AA pieces, and they are obviously also really expensive, so being able to afford AA is a tough job there. So pair of PPSHs meanwhile here, rushing really fast forward in jeeps here. Saperji and Guardia DP coming in on the other side, but the Saperji PPSH getting a good land grab here, getting Inshaa up to a 1311. Then Gonzo moving around, Saperji and Saperji rocks coming in, and meanwhile over here, Gonzo will try to push that back, obviously. Has to be careful though. Yeah, these units shouldn't move all the way up there. Gonzo, good enough to realize that as well. Able to unload at the right moment. Stravnicki officer for 35 points. Fanatical 20-man infantry with 3 DP 28s and 3 PPSHs. So good on all ranges. PTRD helpful as well. Really great infantry for 35 points. One of the most cost-efficient infanteries in the game. Saperji rocks, great all-rounder. With a flamethrower, 2 DPs, 12 hit points. Can do damage on all ranges as well. And they come with solid veterancy. So strong stuff there. Meanwhile, Saperji rocks pushing in the south. Getting the Saperji on the other side whilst they are moving. So dealing good damage there. Having them down to 4 hit points already. Will retreat now into a building as Inshaa keeps up the pressure in the south. In the north, Gonzo getting some flags for free here as Inshaa doesn't want to contest this open terrain at all. And ZSUs coming online for Gonzo everywhere. Does want to set up an AA network before bringing in any bigger tanks. Only one Sherman so far on the side of Gonzo. Mostly infantry and support guns outside of that. On the other side, SU-122s, SU-152s and a T-3485 on the battlefield for Gonzo. IL-2KR coming in to try to spot what's happening, but the AA pushes it back really quickly. ZSU M15, a pretty solid self-propelled gun for 90 points, really cost efficient. T-3045 here, moving up. Sherman, yeah, with side shots obviously can easily penetrate this, but frontally not so much, and it goes down here. T-3045 does the job. OB-25 tries to kill it off. Saperji get a TNT on top, so the T-3045 took some damage. ODOB might get a side shot in here. Yes, it does! OB-25 gets the kill to the T-3045, so losing the Sherman not as big for Gonzo. If the Sherman would have fallen, the T-3045 would have stayed alive. That would have been really bad, as then the T-3045 could have bullied the rest of the units here for a long time. But with the Saperji getting the TNT on target and then the OB-25 getting the side shot, that was a crucial kill for Gonzo. IL-2KRs coming in here, more of them, but ZSU is still around, so they will be pushed back relatively quickly. Interesting big investment there for Inshaa into the air tab. Whilst the SD122 move around in the north. Gonzo up on the 1311 this time around. And Inshaa still having the better infantry here in my eyes. But ZSU could help out if it's careful. And another Sherman already on the way. Cheaper vehicle. And a really, really tough fight here between these two. ISU 152 coming around in the rear as well. Angadris and Nikki rolling onto the battlefield. OB25 chilling around in the north. ISU 152 getting into the field. Really cost efficient gun by now. 415 points. Its 2000 meter range damage output is amazing against soft targets, and it can kill any kind of tank if it gets enough shots out. So you have to be careful all around. One hit on any medium tank and the tank is gone, as it has not just great penetration but also great damage. 15 damage that one-shots any tank that penetrates. OB25 gets the M42 killed here. Guardia DP coming up in the rear in the south. Saperi PPSHs and Stravniki holding the line, but not enough to push forward with. The Saperi rocks got eliminated. Stravniki officer dealing damage up here, but with the Stravniki officer and the Saperi PPSH both coming in A phase, that means that the later phases don't have as many great infantry units for Inshaa to offer, as he all has them coming in an A phase. SU-122 dealing some nice damage to the tankos. Motor Vedka helping out with the spotting here a bit. SU-122 not quite on target, but trying its best there. Whilst an IL-2KR comes in for Inshaa. Keeps an eye on all the enemy ground units, but the ZSU is really good enough to keep that from doing any major harm. Next T-3045 coming in for 100 points here. As the Sherman of Gonzo already has arrived on the front line. Should be able to for sure hold the line and keep Gonzo on the 1311 for a while longer. And that's for sure obviously already a difference from what we saw in game number 1. Saperi PPSH, can they get the Panzerfaust? Yes, Panzerfaust finds the hit on the tank of the Saniki here. Second one has to be careful. Unloads earlier this time around. Saperi PPSHs. The heavy fire by the ISU now as well. SG-43 gets taken out as well. So the SG-43 will die here in a second. ISU aiming up another time. Not quite good enough to pin it down, but Maxime is helping out as well. So PPSH is getting overrun. SG-43 will fall as well, and that will be a 14-10 for Gonzo. And that means even if Inshaa wins in the south, it will still only be a 12-12. If he gets this like maybe in 13-11, but the north is in trouble for Inshaa. Inshaa needs to do something about this. M42 anti-tank gun trying to come around, but this is under such heavy pressure here now. Meanwhile, over here, Rajvetkas coming in. These are pretty dangerous as they have a bazooka. So T-3045 has to be a bit more careful how it moves around infantry. And the Sherman used the time that it is already on the front line pretty nicely. The time without any tank opposition on the other side to bully a lot of infantry here. So Perry Rocks, for example, getting completely annihilated. Really showing you the power of the Sherman. Super great support tank. So Perry Rocks getting pushed back. SU-152 in the south, helping out against Gonzo's infantry. But the 14-10 here for Gonzo is a really solid start this time around for him. A way better start than he had in game number 1. And Inshaa, this time the one that has to do the catch up. For sure, absolutely doable still. As he still has a cohesive force, he still has some advantages in his deck. But has to be careful now with every step he takes. T-3485 hitting the Guardia DP. Has to stabilize the north here a bit. ISU-152 taking out the SG-43. SU-122 doesn't quite stand up to the ISU on this open terrain, as the ISU-152 has 2000 meter range on its AP shell. The SU-122, its AP shell is good enough to penetrate the ISU. It also has the same amount of damage, so it also one-shots the ISU, but it only has 1500 meter range on its seed shell. So it doesn't quite have the range to engage the ISU in the northern open field here, as long as Gonzo micros it well. IS2 1944 coming around, and against that, even if the SD122 gets in range, it can't penetrate. So northern situation for Inshaa starts to become a bit desperate here. So the focus should be of winning in the south, and it seems to be the case for him. But for now, Gonzo holding on pretty nicely here, shutting down the airplay, and airplay is the only way of like getting somewhat indirect fire onto the enemy for 43rd, as the artillery tab just doesn't provide that. You only get a couple of mortars there at best, but you don't get any bigger guns, any rockets, any off maps. So Inshaa has to be careful around that, and has to try to get the air on target, but that's what Gonzo realized from the get-go. That's why Gonzo started with 2 ZSUs here from the beginning, and is on the 1410, and 1 step away from a 59 with that, which would put Inshaa under a lot of pressure. Inshaa now with the infantry counterattack in the south though, SU-152 helping out, ISU-152 coming in on the other side, the Pezhi Rocks getting rid of the Saperi, more Saperis and Stravnikis moving forward, Guardia DP being pushed back, Saperi Comrade upvetting all these forces as well, another Otto Stravniki coming in for the fight in the forest, but really way better trades in the infantry fights this time around for Gonzo around this forest. Kind of a reverse of game number 1 when it comes to the infantry engagements. Even though I would say Inshaa has a bigger advantage in infantry quality compared to game number 1 this time. And he's starting to make that show in the south now, but in the center for now, or on this part of the map, Gonzo for now hold out pretty nicely. In the south, that is different now though. Inshaa got critical mass here and also used his support weapons really nicely to pin down the enemy here a bit. Positioning was quite well done by Inshaa as well. So he overwhelms Gonzo in the south, gets it at least to an 11-13, and is threatening this part of the map still, but not quite having the push power to get on top of it just yet. 2 T-3045s around, IS-2 in the center. ZSU keeps it safe, as we have a Saperi coming in from the rear, another IS-2 coming in. So it's a relatively similar strategy to what we saw in the semifinals against Geers. There it worked out. It took Gonzo a long while to work out there though, but this time again he is the one that takes down Inshaa, not the other way around. So he is in a bit of a better position in that regard as well, but Inshaa's division has more late game than the division that was Panzerdivision Taldra of Geers in the semifinals. So let's see how this all plays out. IL-2KR still trying to find some recon in the north. ZSU using up its ammo on top of it, but still has a good amount of ammo left. Still 80% of its ammo in here, so won't run out of anytime soon. And the IL-2KRs will be hard pressed to find any damage. ISU-152 moving forward. 37mm AAPs under fire by the T-3045, but has to be careful here with the T-3045 as the IS-2 is coming around now. 37mm not running. That's interesting. Gonzo keeps it out as a bait. And now the IS-2 has arrived. T-3045 not running, and it gets instantly killed. Gets a penetration here, I think, against the IS-2. Yeah, got a penetration against the IS-2, but the IS-2 instantly pops the T-3045, and that's a big blow to the forces of Inshaa in the south. Has an own IS-2 now on the battlefield, but as I said before, only a 1943 version, and that one is worse in a lot of ways to the IS-2. It has less frontal armor, and it also has less rate of fire. So, in a direct fight, the IS-2 1944 is way favored, especially thanks to the rate of fire things, and meaning that the 20-point difference there in price is way more in a direct matchup. The IS-2 1944 should have a massive advantage. Meanwhile, 3 P3s with rockets coming in now though, for Inshaa. Okay. Anti-tank rockets coming around. ZSU obviously will try to stop that. No fighters on the side of Gonzo. Big investment here for Inshaa. First couple of P3s with rockets landing onto the IS-152. Next couple of rockets landing onto the IS-2. Not doing great hits though. And the P3s are forced back. P3s have to be careful to not get killed off here by the AA. That's the Stravniki officer pushing himself. Seems like the P3 will get out though. But the damage also not that massive. And the IS-2 1944 of Gonzo now moving forward onto the IS-2 of Inshaa. And if that goes down immediately, that would be really, really painful. Both, if they penetrate, would one-shot the other side. But as you can see, the reload advantage that Gonzo has here is massive. And Inshaa has to get the hell out of there. He not just has the worst penetration chances, he also gets way more chances of testing that penetration chance if he stays in the fight there. T-3045s and KV-1s coming around in the south, but there's 2 IS-2s now on the battlefield already. I would expect more over the next couple of minutes, and Gonzo got pushed back to a 12-12. Inshaa stopped the pick, but that's still fine for Gonzo. Gonzo just needs to keep this alive now for the next couple of minutes, that advantage. Next 34 minutes. He obviously could also go for another push to finish it off, but being in this position is way more favorable for him than what has happened before. The IS-2 actually bounces off the ISU-152. Okay. ISU-152 there, pretty lucky. Yes, it's a max range shot, but still. The 200 penetration shell against the 125mm frontal armor, so ISU unlucky in getting hit, really lucky in getting a bounce. Otherwise that thing would have just exploded. And that would have obviously been pretty unhealthy. SU-122 meanwhile in the south, getting some nice shots off. ISU hitting this up very hard in the north. So both sides hitting each other hard here. IS-2 of Inshaa gets another shot off, does miss this time. IS-2 of Gonzo now getting in with some reaction. Inshaa disengaging right out of there. Yeah, this will be a nice tap dance here between these two in the north. Stravniki officer coming in. 13-11 for Gonzo. Meanwhile, T-3045 chilling around in the south. Another one rolling in. Sherman sitting up on the hill. T-3045 and KV-1S getting on top of the SU-85, dealing some damage there. IS-2 over here, keeping up, hitting on to do some infantry. A lot of shells flying both ways out of pretty big tanks as the KV-1 and the T-3045 on this hill slowly move forward to get more damage in. IS-2 here on the open battlefield, rolling forward, trying to find the way of getting a shot onto his brethren. Inshaa retreating on the other side of the battlefield, getting out of there. IS-2 keeps on rolling. Can it find another shot? Not for now, and it has to be careful. Has to stay within the AA umbrella. More and more AA coming up. Obviously, you don't want to have another P3 run coming your way. And without artillery, it will be really tough for Inshaa to get rid of these AA pieces. You don't have artillery, so overwhelming enemy AA defenses is a really, really tough thing to do for 43rd Reserve. And that is one of their major weaknesses in this matchup. 85mm hitting the P2 recon. Meanwhile in the south, T-3045 helping out, but has to be careful. Ooh, IS-2 gets a shot off, and another instant kill from an IS-2 on a T-3045 here in the south. This IS-2 really becoming the MVP of Gonzo here. Whilst the Inshaa over here hits the Stravniki. Obviously a bit unfortunate for Inshaa, but that swings the favor in the south so heavily into Gonzo's favor. P2s trying to get some rocket runs through. One of the A pieces of Gonzo moved north, but only one rocket run getting through of the P2s, hitting frontal armor, and they are really inaccurate, these P3s. So it doesn't quite do the damage that Inshaa had hoped for. Not really doing much to this IS-2, and not able to finish it off. So Gonzo now on a 14-10, and this game is really going the way of the GOAT. Gonzo having nice control over everything right now. Having a bit of his own artillery, having the better big tanks, and having AA that is doing the job. Infantry-wise, not trading too poorly thanks to his Shermans helping out whenever the enemy infantry oversteps their welcome a bit. Another IS2 1943 coming in, but as I said, relying on these to win fights against IS2 1944s is just hoping for the lottery win, basically. You need to be really lucky to get the job done here. Yes, Inshaa. More SU-152 coming up. More AA for the south for Gonzo. So there won't be any more P3 runs down this lane. And the 1410 for Gonzo is really nice. And Inshaa surrenders here, realizing that against the AA he doesn't stand a chance. And against the T-3040, the IS-2 1944s, there's no way of dealing with this. And I feel like, yes, it might have been a bit early. He might have had like a 10% chance or somewhat lower to win this game. Maybe if Gonzo would have super squandered, but it's a best of 5 after all. So tactical surrender like this makes sense. It's a best of 5. You want to reserve your energy, and the game was super heavily in favor of Gonzo. So making a tick after this, realizing, yep, this game didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Let's go into the next game, and let's give my best there, is a wise choice. If you feel like it's not worth your time, it's not worth your energy, doing this in a best of 5, totally fine. Obviously, not something you should do in rank, but here, super fine. And yep, Gonzo equals it out. It is a 1-1 situation now, and this is going to be interesting.